Okay, I have waited, but I think nobody is joining, and I think we have to do it because we I cancelled it first time. That was because of a medical emergency. So I think I might have to do it once again because it was my fault. But then again, I don't want to wait any further. So and my colleague Parul is also, yeah, she's joining now. Hey, hi Parul. Happy New Year.
Sandeep, Happy New Year.
Yes, yes. Okay, so just a bit of introduction. So I think Shayan, you already know me because you are also in the IFRS 17 batch. But three more registrations were there. Four people has registered, but I mean, unfortunately, I don't know because we cancelled it for the first time. So maybe there are they were not aware, and first Jan probably they have their own vacation. So I'll do it another time as well for them to get that chance. Maybe Paul can also do that. But anyways, we don't. I don't want to delay it further. So I just want to introduce Parul, and then we can start. So Parul is also co-founder of Blue Dragon Universe. She's also qualified actually, and I mean, we were working together in Sun Life. She's still in Sun Life, and yeah, so she helps me with all the courses and everything else. And Parul, if you want to introduce yourself, I think, yeah, and other than that, we can start after that.
Uh, I think you have given a brief. So, overall, I have around 11 years of experience and have been working in life insurance throughout.
Yes, so I think the main takeaway is all of us are, kind of at senior levels, and that is where we are doing this webinar so that everyone, I mean, only in this case, and only you would be benefited. But our purpose was so that everyone can benefit by this webinar because many times in my LinkedIn or even in the email uh, of Blue Dragon Universe, we get queries which are mostly not actually queries but confirmation, reaffirmation of what other people in coaching centers have told them, and most of them have not worked in actual job or not worked at a senior level, so they do not understand what goes on. But these days everyone has a opinion, so we I just wanted to break that cycle, and that is where this webinar is important. At the same time, I wanted to keep this for serious people only, so that we don't want 60 registration or maybe 600 registration. If we made this free, then probably that would be the case. But at the same time, I want serious people, and also actual students have this habit of getting everything at free, so they ask us everything like, can you give me revision note for free and everything else. So I felt that this is very important to change the mindset. So without any further delay, let us start with this. How to get your first actual job. And I was doing a dry run before this, so I think it would take me around 25 to 30 minutes. And Parul, feel free to pitch in wherever. Please interrupt me, and feel free to pitch in. And maybe next time you will have to do this. So yeah, that is how we are planning to do this. And yeah, and sign also whenever you have any question like you do in the IFRS 17, right? You please interrupt me and ask your question. At the same time, I'll also stop at regular intervals. So to start this presentation, uh, I'll just start with the story, and I'll keep on referring to that story at different intervals. And that story is a real story from my own actual career, on from my own corporate, life. And I think it has a lot of learnings that is very important uh, in a job, right? How to handle a pressure situation or in a job. So this goes back to my time when I was in Canada. I was working in Canada HSBC, and I stayed there for 8 months. And to be very honest, it was my most horrible experience of working in a corporate job. However, at that point of time, I had this feeling that if you have to learn about real work, in Actuary, then you have to work in a core company. By core company, I mean the company that sell their own products. And because in KPO setup or consultancy, usually we do the outsource work. And by very nature of the outsource work, initially the work that will be outsourced would be very simple because they are also trying to get a feel of how the talent level is, how the skill is, how how everyone is kind of gelling up and working to get a solution. So usually in a outsourced environment, in a KPO setup, in a consultancy setup, you'll get easier work, and those would be sometimes those are not even actual work. So I had, obviously it is better to start there because your package would be slightly higher, and then you can move into a core company where you get real experience, and it's very hardcore experience. So that was my thought process. Having said that, that is not my thought process right now. Right now I believe that if you are sincere enough, it does not matter which company you are working in. If you are the top performer or maybe the top five performer, you will obviously get good quality work because the company will realize your worth, and then you will solve problems which other will not be able to solve. So that is why you'll get good quality work. But earlier, when I was maybe just 27, 28, I did not have that maturity, or this vision was not clear to me, and which is where this story is very important to this presentation, and to set the entire flow of this kind of presentation. So when I joined Canada, this was a very pressure environment, and I mean I felt that the people are abusing each other very openly, and the work hours was like there was no specific work hours. I used to go at 6:30 sometime because there was no help. I was given a task and there was no training on that task. I had to solve that task by say 11:30, and I know if I go at my scheduled time, which is 9:15 or 9:30, it is impossible for me to solve because I first have to understand and then I have to replicate with the modification, right? And also I'll make some errors, so it is better that I make those errors initially, and then I find out how to do that. At the same time, I was learning I was learning different pieces of different softwares, which I was not aware of at that point of time. So it made my job all the more difficult. The environment was not that friendly. However, the great thing was that I joined Canada HSBC during its reporting cycle, because I joined in Jan to March, as you know, is the end of the financial year. So everything that a company has to do would be happening in that time period. And from April, the reporting will begin. Like they will start submitting report to IRDA, and you get to see the entire end to end picture that happens, and that has helped me tremendously. That has helped me in my future job. Even today, that is helping me. I got to see a lot and I got to learn a lot, especially because I was spending that much of time. I was working someday 18 hours, 19 hours, but that also took a toll on my health and everything else. Right, so it cannot be continued for a longer duration. So when I joined, I felt that this is a company where I cannot work for longer duration, and because the environment is such. When I joined, also I joined at a very mediocre hike. I joined probably at 15 or 10% hike. So I felt that the hike is also not great. So I have to switch. But there is a purpose for which I have joined. I have joined to see the end-to-end reporting and how everything is done, and the difficult work, right? How people uh, who are in core, who I'm seen in the interviews, who have lot of knowledge and who ask questions which I find difficult to answer at that point of time. But when I gave interview in KPOs, it was much easier for me to crack. Or even consultancies like Big Four. So it was much easier for me to crack as compared to a core interview. So I felt that I need to know their language. And for that, this is the best time that I've chosen to join. So I'll stay till certain time. And that certain time for me was May. So I joined in Jan, and I decided that by May, every reporting is supposed to be over. I also asked people, and they also kind of mentioned that, yeah, everything will be over by May. So all the pressure that you are seeing right now, it will get better. But that was not my goal. My goal was to finish everything and then leave, right? But then when I started, like when everything was done, I got a lot of knowledge, and I learned many things uh, through that difficult environment. But when I tried to switch, it was very difficult to switch, and that is where this presentation is kind of more related to that, that aspect of this story. So because I was switching in 4 months, right? I joined in Jan, I was switching in April, and I was very honest about that. Like whenever I was asked in interview, why are you switching in 4 months? I told that, I mean, there is the environment is not good, and you have to work for 18 hours, 20 hours. You don't get time to study, not even to sleep. I cannot exercise. So there are so many cultural issues, etc. But the moment I said this, and when people usually say that honesty is the best policy, but the moment I have said this to any interviewer, everyone has opposed me, saying that you have attitude issues, you can face similar problem here as well, why should I hire you? And there is no point in hiring you because you are not able to handle pressure. This would happen everywhere. So that was the same rhetoric that I have heard everywhere. And my interview was, other than my knowledge, like the interview is supposed to be testing your knowledge about what you know, what you have written in the CV, etc., etc., right? What certification you've done, what papers you've passed. But other than that, my interview was entirely on why I was leaving. So if the interview was for 45 minutes, 30 minutes would be spent on this, and the interviewer was already pissed off with me. So he would, or she would always say that he try to establish that I have attitude issues, and 15 minutes he would just ask some questions because just as a formality. And then by the end of the interview, I would know that I am not going to get selected because the person has already made up his mind that he's not going to select me because of this thing, attitude issues or whatever it is. So you have not even tested me for you know uh, for my knowledge, and he has rejected me, assuming something for which I was not incorrect, to be honest. Like the culture was such, at least for me the culture was such. I cannot say the culture was such for everyone, but for me the culture was such. So they do not want to hear that I was passing through a bad culture, because that is somehow considered a taboo in an interview. And that is the unfortunate part, but that is true in an industry, in insurance industry. So I'll just stop there and next segment would be how I overturn the situation. But I'll just stop there to see if you have any question till this point.
First of all, thank you to both Arpanda and Parul for taking the time off on 1st of January.
No problem.
And I think working 18 hours, 20 hours a day, I mean, is that even normal like that? Does that happen in all the companies or all the core companies?
No, we can't say that. I can only say based on my experience. Having said that, I worked for 2.5 years in SBI Life, and that was a non-actuarial role, and there were days where we had to do that. Uh, I mean, the culture in code is such, like you have to work a lot harder. If you are leaving early, people will frown upon you. So that culture was always there, but the environment was much better. I mean, people will in like that is the environment that I got. The people who are there, my friends there, are still my friends and very close friends. To be honest, so I enjoyed working late, and but those are not, like, every month it was not happening. To be very honest, there were days when it was happening, and I think same goes in KPOs as well. As for example, in Sun Life also, there were days where we had to work very hard. I think I remember 2022. Parul would also agree. I think second half of 2022 was very tough. I mean, we were working like that, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., 3 a.m., 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. Some days, right? But I think these are just few days, and if it will be few days or maybe a 1 month, you know that that month is going to be difficult, there would be a reason for that. Like you are, like we in Sun Life, we are moving from IFRS 17 to IFRS 4. We are doing parallel reporting. Sorry, IFRS 4 to IFRS 17. We're doing parallel reporting. SBI Life, we were applying for some ISO certification, and then RBNQ award. There was some award, so we were collating data across the company, and we had to talk to many people at different regions, at different places, of different languages. So I think those were the reasons, right? We could see a deadline, like this is the timeline by which you have to finish it. The problem is when you have bad culture, like you are working 18 hours and you are also getting bashed for working incorrectly or something for which you are not trained. So that is, I think, that is a bigger problem as compared to working 18 hours. And if that is a norm in any company, like if every day you are working for 18 hours, then that is a wrong company. You need to switch the company. It can happen for a month or maybe 2 months, right? So I think that can happen because of some reason, and that is common in every company. You will pass through the more senior you are, more you will have such difficulty. But yeah, I mean, but it is not. It should not be a norm in any company. Paul, if you want to add
I
in,
mean,
yeah. Sorry, yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, so I mean, I understand if there is a deadline, if there is something that needs to be done within a month,
Hmm.
you have to stretch yourself. That I understand. But working for more than, I think, 10 hours on a daily basis, like every day, like if it goes to 14 hours, 15 hours, I mean, I don't think that's a good conducive environment to learn also.
True. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, beyond a point, your brain just stops working. Yeah, true.
Generally, in every company, whether it's a core company or a big four or KPOs, generally there are specific periods over where you'll have to stretch. But it's very rare in a company that you'll see that it would be on a continuous basis. But yeah, in every company there will be generally a specific period. For example, during the quarter ends, during the reporting times, you will see that stretch.
Yeah. Yes, and I hope that people work towards eliminating that stretch rather than normalizing that stretch. But that is something that the higher ups have to work towards, right? Like, can we automate something? Can we uh, plan before? Uh, some like in my tenure in different companies, I have tried to do that, and I've also achieved that to an extent. I've also put my foot down when my team has been asked to work on weekends. So I think it's a call that everyone, but not everyone would be able to go against a managerial decision or a higher management decision, right? It takes a lot of guts to do that. So I think it should change, but I mean at the same time also, if it is happening for say 3-4 days in a quarter, I don't think we have much to complain, because all of us are kind of passionate about our job. We enjoy. That is why we are here. I think that is also, that we can work with that limitation. The only problem is if you have bad culture and if it is a routine rather than an exception. Any other comments and anything else?
Yeah, I think 3, 4 days in a quarter is all right. I think it's just normal. But
Mhm.
I mean, it should be treated as an exception rather than the norm.
True, true. Yeah, yeah, true. My case was different. I was learning. I was new to core setup or IRDA regulations, and there was no training for me. So from the first hour, not even the first day, from the first hour, I was asked to do something without any training. Like I had to figure out what is going on, and then I was expected to do exactly, perfect, deliver an exactly perfect solution, and along with modifications. So I think that was the incorrect, that was the bad environment I was talking about. If you are trained and then you are asked to do something, it's just like in an exam. You have just studied maybe 2 or 3 chapters, and that only the simple examples. You have not done any exam style problem, and you have gone to write the exams, and then you are cribbing that you are not able to write any answer. because you have not done proper practice, right? You have not given yourself the proper training, and that exactly happened in Canada HSBC with me. But obviously, I learned a lot because, but the way I have learned, I I ensured that I do not have to learn in that way. That was the that was the understanding. But anyways, I just like to move forward because I don't want to delay finishing our presentation in time. So now that was the situation, right? Now how did I overcome it, right? So this is where it is very important to understand that in interview you should tell truth, but not the whole of it. You have to hide some portion, and you have to kind of sometime you have to say something that might be a rumor, but it may not be truth. To your knowledge, it may not be true, because you are an insider, but to someone else it might be it might appear extremely correct, right? And you need to focus on your strength area, and you need to ensure that interviewers ask you question from your strength area, not from an area in which you are not comfortable. Because if that happens, for example, suppose I worked significantly on participating product, and Parul has worked significantly on universal life product. Now suppose I am interviewing Parul and I'm asking question on participating product. Now Parul is not that comfortable, right? So if I continue in going deeper and deeper in participating product, Parul will find it difficult to answer, because I have worked in that depth. Same will happen if Parul interviews me in universal life product, because she has lot of experience in universal life product, and I'll not be able to answer beyond a point, right? So the idea is that you have to keep the interviewer in your domain in some way by applying some intelligence, which I am going to discuss in this presentation, rather than the interviewer moving you into his domain or into her domain. And then that would be a very tough job to move out. And that was happening with me when I was trying to leave Canada HSBC, because I was speaking the truth, right? That I did not like the culture, and all the interviewers are kind of thinking that that is an attitude issue. So there is, like, that is their belief. You cannot question belief, right? If someone is not ready to believe something else or see the other side, you cannot force them to see the other side, until unless you are at a you are at a more powerful position than that person. So it is not possible. So that is why I was struggling. So I realized that if I have to clear any interview, because I already went through 3 4 companies and I was not able to clear it. So I realized that if I have to clear interview, then the discussion on my weakest point should be the shortest. And what was my weakest point? That is, I am living in 4 months or 5 months, right? So I have to justify that. If I cannot justify that, and if the interview drags on that point for 30 minutes, then there is no chance that I'm going to get selected. So what I tried, then what I said was, so this Canada HSBC is a long name, right? Canada HSBC, and then there is other companies as well, OBC, HS, something else as well, right? So it is a combination of multiple banks, joint venture of multiple banks, and then Canada HSBC is formed. So there was that rumor in the market that Canada and HSBC will split, or Canada HSBC and some other company will split, right? So what I started saying is, so you must be. So I told the interviewer that you must be aware. Now the moment I say that you must be aware, the ego of interviewer got lifted, right? So he cannot say that no, I am not aware. So I'm making an assumption that the interviewer will not be able to say that I am not aware. So I said the interviewer to the interviewer that you must know that Canada HSBC are going to split, and unfortunately for that there will be a lot of restructuring going on. There will be a lot of layoffs, and because of that, because I joined just recently, my position is at tremendous danger, because they probably would not fire someone who is more trained as compared to me who is very new. So my position is in danger, and that is why I have to kind of leave this job. The moment I said that, it kind of like everyone acknowledged that, because they understood that for them that is a significant problem, right? Now what I did here is I tried to uh, differentiate or try to play by the logic which majority will like. although I am not a person who goes by the rule of the herd, but I try to do something or try to say something that the herd will find justified. And by doing that, the rest of that point took only 30 seconds or 45 seconds, because the other person agreed, yeah, yeah, I have heard that Canada HSBC is going to split, right? So because of that, then the interview was happening on my knowledge. And on my knowledge, I have spent 18 hours, for a long period of time, for days, so that my knowledge is very strong at that point of time. And I knew that I could clear any interview if it is on my knowledge, on my technical knowledge, or on what I have done in the last 4 or 5 months. So that is why I start, clearing interviews, and eventually I joined Sun Life at that point of time. But before that, I also got three offers. I also raised my salary using one offer against another offer, and then I raised my salary as well. So as I mentioned, I joined a 10% hike in Canada HSBC. I actually got 54% hike from my previous companies, because of changing, because of using the offer. And just one simple twist, that Canada HSBC is going to split, and you must be aware that Canada HSBC is going to split, just by lifting the ego of the person, that he cannot say no, no, I am not aware. Because of that thought process, and because this is a justifiable reason, that if someone who is new, the company is getting restructured, the company is getting demerged, then there would be some problem with the new people. So that was justifiable, and nobody said that there is attitude issues or etc etc. Then this 5 month leave was justified, and then I was able to leave. Right. So the point here is, or the important point which we are going to connect, in the presentation as well, is that sometimes some answer do not work, and you cannot be honest there. Like I mentioned, you can you I am not encouraging you to lie. You have to tell the truth, but not the whole of it, right? So you have to be smart enough to understand where to tell the truth, which person to tell the truth, and which person not to tell the truth, right? So your information is your asset. How much you disclose or diverge to someone else is your smartness. If you divulge too much of information, that is a problem. And if you hold back too much of information, that is also a problem. So you have to like underwrite, you have to assess the risk, and then determine how much information you want to divulge in this case. Okay, so now I'll just move into the point. So these are the these are the problems that I've seen in freshers. First is lack of papers. That is the first problem, because I keep on saying papers are the bare minimum in actuary. If you do not have papers, then you are not fit for this domain. You might struggle in papers for maybe 1 year, 2 year, but if it is happening for 4 or 5 years, then you are not fit for this domain. It should be, and especially in today's scenario when you are kind of being forced to pass, the passing rate has increased a lot. The examiner are kind of helping you to pass, so it's much easier today to pass. And even in that environment, if you're struggling to clear paper, then you might not be a fit for this domain. You might be doing wonderfully well in some other domain, but not in this domain. So if you are a person who has probably cleared 3 papers in 7 years or 4 papers in 8 years, then chances are you do not enjoy this domain. You have to change your field, and you have to move to a different field. So that is the first problem. Usually, freshers do not have this problem today. They usually have more papers than probably that is needed. And we are going to cover each and every topic. What is an ideal, situation, etc. Second point is probably more prevalent today. I think Padul would also agree. Lack of knowledge. In when I was in Sun Life, when I was interviewing after COVID, I felt this problem, and then it got amplified. If just few days back, we were trying to hire a few people for Blue Dragon Universe, and they were sending demo videos. It was, I don't want to use the word, but it was horrible. Few of the concept that was explained was horrible. Like people who have scored 80%, 90% are explaining wrong concepts, and even then they are getting 80%, 90%. I don't know how that is happening, but yeah, that lack of knowledge is too much prevalent today. And obviously, nobody is going to ask you a very simple, like, or people will ask you a simple question, like maybe they will start with, can you name the life insurance product, for example. Now you once you write or once you explain that, then people will go deeper, right? And if you struggle to answer that, like suppose someone asks what will increase the reserve, and you are not able to answer that, then that is a problem. Because in real life you will be able to, you have to solve problems, not able to, you have to solve problems which should be unconventional. And there might not be a solution known to even very senior people, but you are expected to at least do some groundwork on that. So you have to think from different angles. And if you get stumped by a very simple, in-depth question, then that is a problem, and you will struggle to clear interviews, which is a main. I believe of all this reason, that is probably one of the primary reason for failure that I see today. Third thing is lack of approach, like how to approach a problem, and sometimes how to approach a person for interview. And the fourth is lack of communications. Now, some people might be very good in this area. I remember when I was taking an interview in Sun Life, there was a person who was struggling to speak English. And he was like, he was able to explain the concept, but he was struggling to speak English. And I always have another interviewer with me. So that, if sometime you might miss some points of a person, other person would be able to help you in recognizing those points. Now, I saw that other person was the other person was interviewing me. He told me that if he struggles to speak English to this degree, and because our setup is such that we have to talk to clients, we have to explain problem to them. If this person struggles, then he would be a liability for the team. Although his conceptual clarity is good, but he will be liable. He will be a liability. And although I don't believe in language, because I feel that you can learn that. But at that point of time, the problem was so severe. Like none of us speak correct English. So I mean, English is not our mother language. So we speak English to a certain degree, and it should be communicable, right? It should be easier for someone else to understand, and we should be able to communicate our feelings. But if the person was struggling to do that, right? So lack of communication is also, I think, a major problem. Sometimes people might be good in the other three areas, but the lack of communication, can cause problem in an interview, especially in fresher level when there is so much of options. The supply is much more than demand. So that is where I think communication also plays a more amplified or vital role as compared to at slightly senior level. So I think these are the problems, and in this presentation we are going to see how we can tackle this, right? So moving on, there are few common questions that we get, and I just wanted to answer this. So first is, does referral work? So many time I get CVs from people, say, can you refer my CV to this place or that place? These days, I even today I get CV for referral in Sun Life, although I've left Sun Life long back, right? So the question is, does referral work, right? So I think referral work and referral also does not work. Both are possible. So when does referral work? That is important for us to understand. So I think referral work when someone is hiring uh, for a team where you have significant influence. Like suppose you have sent your CV to me, and Parul is hiring. Like Parul's team require someone. Now Parul listened to me, or Parul is a good friend of mine. So if I share your CV with Parul, then then Parul would give a lot of importance to that because of whatever relation I share. And if I say that this person is very good, right? So Parul would give importance to that. But suppose someone already do not like me for some reason, and I am referring the CV to that person, then that person has no obligation to look into the CV. So that is where referral can work both ways. There is a common perception that if you get a strong referral, you are going to succeed, right? That is also true. It is not incorrect. But suppose you send your CV, and you know the CEO of a company, and the CEO sent the CV to one of us, right? And then we are forced to interview, right? But until and unless we are forced to hire you, if your performance is not good, we will still be rejecting you. So I think what happens is, if you have a very strong referral, you might get interviewed, right? You might get interviewed, but your hiring depends on your knowledge or and everything else, right? So referral does work. At the same time, referral may not work as well, right? So I think it is always better that if you have a link, and if it is the normal process, like these days in LinkedIn or in Naukri, we have those links, like you can fill the details and upload your CV, and that's it, right? So if you have a link, then you should not look for referral, because everyone is getting you, like we also get your CV from the HR or from some portal, and then we'll kind of filter those CVs, and that is how we get the CVs in for interviews, right? Sometimes the HR will set up interviews, and in that the CV, in that meeting ID, the CV would be there. So that is the usual process. Now, if you are sending your CV, then we have to also follow that process. Like we also have to upload the CV in the system. So it depends on the on the company. If so, I'll say that until unless you have a very strong network, or very strong person is at a very strong position, where other people cannot ignore his or her, whatever word, referral may not work. So it is better to follow the normal process. Parul, if you want to add anything here.
I would disagree to some extent here.
Mhm.
Yes, it's correct that referral might or might not
Parul, your voice is cracking. Shayan, can you hear her? Hello?
Yes, it's cracking for
if
me
you
as well.
have a net.
Parul, your voice is cracking. We are not able to hear you. Hello? I think.
Hello.
Yeah, Parul, we were not able to hear you. Everything.
Am, am I audible now?
Yes, now you're audible.
Okay, so I was just saying that referral, it's correct that referral might or might not work, but then if you have a referral, even if it's not a very strong link,
Hmm.
it would still help to some extent to just reach the CV at a particular level. But it's not a possibility that you might get interviewed for sure or not. But still, it would have a higher chance compared to sharing a CV via any other portal, especially because these days all the companies have some referral bonus as well that is given to employees, that those are referring the CVs. So because of that reason as well, even if the network is not very strong, they will still try and share your CV with the HR team or the hiring managers.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point, and I missed that point. Yeah, so these days the companies have a referral bonus for us. So if you send the CV, and then we refer it to the appropriate person, so I think that can give you some extra money, right? So I think that is also a motivation for us to refer. So I think that way, if we put that, I think that will probably outweigh the negative side of referral. So yeah, I think the overall, then the conclusion would be that you should try for referral, and yeah, I mean that might be helping you in that way. Okay, thanks for Pasan. You have any question on this point?
I think the only thing I struggle with when I see actual positions is that I do not know if they are actually actuarial or not.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, so I
whether
think I think yeah. So yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, whether I should apply to that position or not, because it's really confusing sometimes. You know?
No, if it is confusing, so yeah, I have this thumb rule. If it is confusing for you, right? So when I was initially a fresher, or very less experience, it was sometime it is confusing for me, and then I realized that whenever I get confused, it is better to leave that opportunity. uh, and I do that in everything in my life. Like for example, just to give another example, if I am trading and if I'm confused about a particular position, that whether I should enter at this place or not, I'd not enter. So I think that is my thumb rule. If you are confused, then there is something that is telling you not to do that. That is what I'll believe, and I have always believed. So I always take things in which I'm very very clear. Like this is the thing. I'm clear that this is an actual role. I'm 100% sure. Then only I will apply. Otherwise, if I have even a doubt, even an iota of confusion, even after maybe like I might discuss that with the HR or a person from that company. That person has told no, this is completely actual. Even then, if I am not convinced, I have some doubt, then I'll not apply. The idea behind this is there is no point in being desperate in life. Life will give you ample opportunities. If you are confused, if you're not convinced, leave that opportunity and wait for the next one. You will, if you wait, you will definitely get a better opportunity. So that would be my, my suggestion in this case.
And also, what you can do is if you are just confused about whether it's actuarial role or not, what you can do is you can search about the company if it's directly from a particular company, and if it's from some consultancy or some hiring management company. What you can do is you can just reach out to them and discuss about that to understand which company is hiring for that, and then you will get an idea after searching about that company whether they are actually hiring for that role or not. Because in actuarial, what happens is, what I have noticed so far, there are a lot of companies who don't even have an actuarial domain, but they still mention actuarial in their job description, which is majorly only about the data mining related tasks. So that one thing can help you figure out whether it's something which is actuarial or just some IT or data related thing, job.
Yeah, yeah, yes. So I think there is. I'll just name a company. Or there was a company, or there is still probably a company. Its name is Hansa Solutions, something like that. Hansa. It can may not be solutions. So that company used to hire people for writing SQL queries in reinsurance operation profile. Now reinsurance has two verticals, or like the pricing team actually looks into reinsurance, and there is also an operation team of reinsurance. So they write actual analyst, but it is not an actual role. It is an IT role, like Parul mentioned. So you have to write SQL queries, get data, and you have some connection with the actual team. Actual team would give you the premiums and the premium rates, etc., and you have to fetch or put that into the system. So you are basically doing IT and operation work, and they used to call that, or they still call it, actual analyst. So yeah, I mean, it is like since actual analytics are so closely related, sometimes it is very confusing, right? And like Paul mentioned, like you can do your research, like whatever you want. Like I also mentioned that you can talk to a person from that company, you can talk to the HR, you can talk to your interviewer, etc. There is no harm in appearing for an interview as such, right? Because you'll only get experienced. But if you're not convinced, that if you're not convinced, you should not take that opportunity. I mean, that is what I would better be wrong rather than not following my gut. So if I feel that this is not correct for me, I will not do that, even if there are hundreds of reasons for doing that, because something is telling me this is not correct, and that is how I operate. Right? Like I mentioned, in my normal life as well, if I'm not convinced, if I'm not absolutely clear, I will not do that. So I'll take a lot of time to be convinced, and then I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll not do it. Right? So that is my thought process. You do your research, but if there is even 1% confusion, don't do it. You will get ample opportunities. Right? There is the world is big. You have lot to leave, and I think you will get opportunities. Moving on. Does CV format matter? Now, if I be getting 1 rupee every time someone asks me to look into their CV, I'd be a millionaire today. I'm not very far away from that stage though, but I think I would have crossed that stage. So I think this is a common question from the fresher, and I don't know why it is such a big matter for them. But everyone asked me to, like, sometime I interact with people just to understand what their issue is, and the second question they ask me, or they will request me to look into their CV and tell if everything is correct or not. Now, I think the problem there is, if your CV is too wordy, right? So that is why it is, the CV format matter. I've written both yes and no. The problem is if your CV is too wordy. Like I've seen CVs which run 6 pages, 7 pages, and I mean the person has given everything in their CV. You know, CV is supposed to be a snapshot of your personality, of everything else that you represent, right? Your degrees, your achievements, right? Maybe one or two failures as well. So, I mean, CV should be a snapshot of your life till that stage, but it should be a snapshot. It should not be an essay of your personality, which some people do, right? So, if you do not have that basic sense, then CV format would matter for you. If you are writing 6 page CV, if you are writing 3 page CV, now you have to also understand why CV is needed. Like CV is needed for filtering, right? For us, we'll get maybe hundreds of CV. Now, a CV would help us to filter between the right candidates and wrong candidates. Now, if you are writing a shorter CV, say a 1 page CV or maximum 2 page CV, then it eases our job to kind of filter. But if you are writing a 6 page CV, right, then it increases our workload, right? So that is where I felt that your CV should be short, right? Do not write everything in your CV. Keep something to tell in the interview as well, but just give some hint so that the interviewer can ask question and get further clarity on that, right? So in that way, CV format matter. Otherwise, CV format does not matter whether you write your college at the first or your college at the last, right? Etc. Etc. It does not matter. Ideally, you should whatever is most recent should be at the top in your CV, and whatever you want to showcase or whatever you want to give more priority should be at the top, right? So, like you, if you have experience, then your experience should be at the top rather than from which school you have passed. That is also an important information, but you can keep it at the last because that would not matter. But if you are a fresher, then obviously your college marks, right? The actual papers would matter a lot more as compared to an experienced person. So it is just that common sense how you prioritize your information and how you summarize your information. So if you have that common sense, it does not matter. And these days, I have seen coaching centers charging money for creating CV. And another thing that I'd like to mention is you know yourself the best. I may not. I mean, it is very difficult for another person to know you to the level that you know yourself. You know what you have done, what is your strong point, what is your weaker point, right? So if someone else is creating a CV for you, then those would be missed. Then those would be a generic CV which should not represent you, and that is where the CV might get misrepresented. It might get selected, but the interview will ask you question for which you would not be comfortable, and once again that will not solve the purpose of getting a job. So you should prepare your CV. You can obviously have a template based on which you are preparing your CV, and that is absolutely fine. These days, these AI tools, create your CV for you. So you can have a template and you can follow that template, but you should create your own CV. You should never pay, like for as per me, you should never pay to create your CV, and your CV should be a summary. It should not be very very wordy. You should just give basic hints and lines so that someone can understand what is going on there, and if that person need further clarity, then that person will ask more question on that, and that should be your thought process as well. And as I mentioned, you should prioritize information, the information you want the interviewer to read first, or you want the interviewer to be impressed about yourself. That should be appearing at the top, and then the less important information will follow. So that is my take on the CV format. Parul, if you want to add anything here.
No, I think I completely agree. Just a thumb rule that you should consider while creating your CV is that interview will not generally take more than half a minute to go through your CV,
Hmm.
and so your CV should be such that it should cover the main points that you want to highlight
Hmm.
uh, in a very crisp format, so that it covers everything in a very maybe in a single page, especially for a fresher. It should not be more than one pager CV. And also you should include everything that you have done during your school or during your graduation, but not in a very descriptive format. but just a brief of so that interview can get an idea reading that this is something that you have done, especially if it's something which can show that you have some kind of a thought process, or if you want the interviewer to ask something from your CV and you are strong on that particular topic, and that would help you, so you can just create a CV thinking about what you have done so far and what you are comfortable with, and that should be very crisp in a single page CV.
Great. Yes, Shan, if you have any question, please go ahead.
No, no, this is all right. I got all the points.
Okay. Next point is, does marks matter? Now the question is which marks? So I'm talking about actual paper marks, right? The answer is it does not. Uh, it does not matter. Because once again the concepts are outdated by a margin. So I think it does not matter. Having said that, there is no harm if you have shown your marks. These days many people do that. Already there is a trend of sharing the marks in the LinkedIn. So you can obviously, and you are also sharing your class 10, 12 graduation marks. So following that template, following that format, you can share your marks for your paper as well. But does that make an impression? It does not. Sometime it might also create a impression, and if you cannot deliver on that, like the example that I gave, we got CVs or we got representations from people who have scored more than 80%, 90%, and then they were not able to explain concepts, simple concepts like confidence interval, or hypothesis, what is hypothesis testing, what is type 1 error, what is type 2 error. Simple concept were not were not explained with clarity by people who have scored more than 80%, 90%. So if you write 90%, if you write 80%, then be prepared to showcase that knowledge in an interview, because an interviewer, if that interviewer is maybe strong in that domain, then that person can test you, and that might go against you as well. Because suppose someone asks you about negative binomial distribution, you do not remember. You remember binomial distribution, but you have no idea what negative binomial distribution is used for, right? And then you will struggle to answer, right? But because you have written 90%, then that person might expect you to answer, but you might have got that, or you might have cleared that paper 2 years back, and right now you do not remember that, right? So that is where there is always a risk. It can uh, improve your initial impression, but very quickly it can fade away and it can turn against you as well. So it depends on you, but ultimately marks would not matter. People will check your the very fact that interview is happening means marks do not matter. Otherwise, you will be selected on your marks only, right? So the interview is happening to check if that mark is justified, right? If your knowledge is sufficient, and if you have sufficient knowledge, even if you have scored maybe 61, 62, does not matter. I can talk for myself. The highest I've got is probably 79 in CT7, or whatever it's called right now. I think it's called CV2 or CV3. So that is my highest mark. I have not crossed maybe 70 in any of the paper. But I'm doing pretty well for myself. So I think it does not matter. And initially, marks was not shared as well. These days, marks were shared. Earlier, marks were not shared as well. And people who are at very senior level, they also realize that the questions are getting easier. It is getting MCQ. Sometimes some papers these days have MCQs, so it is much easier to score marks. That does not show the real picture. In fact, few months back, few a couple of quarters back, actually, when we were talking about hiring in Moody's, we were trying to develop our aptitude test, because marks was like everybody was getting 80%, 90%, 70%. It was so easy to get such marks, especially for the lower papers. So then we cannot trust that. Then there is an additional test we are putting so that we can filter further, right? So if everybody is getting marks, then the importance of mark is further lower. So marks will only matter if very few people are getting high marks. But these days, everyone is getting good marks. So the importance of marks have gone down, and it never actually was very important, because earlier it was only pass or fail. The marks was just being shared, I think, from 2018-19. Before that, marks was not shared actually. So it does not matter. Another thing that I want to cover, sometime people ask me, does passing paper from IAI or IFOA make any difference? It does not. We do not distinguish between whether you have cleared from IAI, IFOA. There is a conception, and which is true to an extent as well, which was much true earlier, that clearing paper from IAI is much tougher, which is true. II is bit lower pass percentage, but these days even II is competing because people are moving to IFOA only. So they also understand that if they do not pass more people, they cannot generate revenue for themselves. So I mean, this is the, like I said, the system is such that you are being forced to pass, even if you are not prepared, which is a problematic thing for the industry, but at least a good thing for students these days. So that further reduces the importance of marks. So marks do not matter, and if you write higher marks, or if you feel that you should show marks in your CV, then be prepared to be asked questions at that level, because someone can consider that as a show off, and then can try to show that you do not know anything in a particular subject, right? So then that can also work against you. Parul, if you want to add anything here.
Oh, no, I think you have covered all.
Shan, any question?
No, no, I understood.
Cool. Okay. And then there is a very similar thing which once again has started recently, that is All India Rank. Now this All India Rank is only India specific. IAI, I think IFA do not share rank actually. So just couple of days back, couple of months back, I was having this discussion with my, uh, like people from different parts of the world, but who are at my designation, that India has started. Or maybe India always has this trend of All India Rank, which is not that prevalent in other countries. Like in other countries, they will just show pass or fail. They will not give you rank. So IFOA do not share rank or do not give awards for rank, and then SOA do not do that. So they were asking me why India does that, and I told them, this is just in our genes. We have ranks for everything. So obviously, AIR does that matter. Once again, if you are writing AIR, be prepared to be asked tougher question, because once again, someone can consider that this person would be an absolute genius in this paper, so you might get asked tougher question as compared to others. So this might also create a very good initial impression. That is also certain, because if you are writing, say, AIR1 in CP1 or AIR1 in SA2, right? So this will create a good impression as well. But then you have to back that, right? You have to back that with knowledge. If you do not have that, then it can cause trouble for you. So it is kind of similar to marks, right? If you choose to show it, then it is a double-edged sword. If you can back that, then it might create a better impression, and that will help you. But if you struggle to justify your AIR, then that's a problem. So I think it is quite similar to the marks. So I'm not uh, going much detail into it, and I think you already got the picture. Now, how we can solve the problems? First is lack of paper. So obviously, the first important point is clear papers. That you have to clear paper. As I mentioned, if you are struggling to clear paper, then you are probably not made for this domain. You need to give yourself time. Now people ask me, like, when can I understand that I'm not made for this domain? So you have to give yourself some time. Suppose you are 20, 21, or whatever, you may be 30, 31, whatever is your age, and suppose you are stuck on a paper. You have to give yourself time that I have to maybe clear this paper by next 3 years or 2.5 years. That will give you maybe 4 attempts or 5 attempts or 6 attempts. That should be enough to clear a paper. You will be able to, if you are sincere enough, if you are working on your own errors and mistakes, then you should be able to clear the paper by those attempts. If you are still not able to clear the paper and you are not clearing any other paper, sometimes what happens is one paper gets stuck, other papers you are able to clear, then that is also fine. But if you are not able to clear any paper for 2.5 years, 3 years, and if there is no personal issue, like for a female, that they can get pregnant, they can get married, there might be other issues for which they are not able to clear paper, and that is quite justified. But if you are not able to clear paper just because you are not able to answer to the merit of the paper, then it is time to say bye bye to this domain and work in some other domain, right? And this would be a question in an for an interviewer, like if you have not cleared paper for a longer duration, be prepared to justify that in an interview. You should have a good answer. Once again, if you uh, you might need to be smart about your answer. If you believe that you are not able to clear paper for merit, so you have to be smart. Sometimes we hear that, I fell sick, my mom fell sick, my dad fell sick, and I was not able to appear. So I mean, sometimes this appears like complete blatant lies, and having been there, done that, right? So I think we also understand, so when someone is saying the truth and when someone is lying. So be honest about it. If you are not able to clear papers, if there is a genuine reason, then that's fine. Otherwise, it might not be for you, and you need to think on that domain. It's the never give up is very highly overrated. So you need to never give up till a particular point. After that, you have to give up and move into something else and do something with your life. So I would always suggest that. So first is you have to clear papers. There is no two way, there is no other way about it. Then how you can clear papers? By solving past papers. You need not work on mock papers, which today once again are given by coaching centers, and they are charging money for it, surprisingly, which is freely available. If the actual exam do not have any past paper freely available, then obviously mock paper would make sense. But sometimes we get asked this question: do we provide mock papers? Do we check papers? And I'm always surprised with such questions, because the papers are freely available. If I have to create a paper, then I'll also consult those paper, and then I'll create a mock paper. And the level I'll judge you on would be the answers that is given in those mock papers. So I mean, I don't understand why someone is looking for mock papers. So solve past papers, that is sufficient. If you solve maybe 5 years, I was never able to solve five years paper for all the papers that I passed. So if you can solve 5 years, that is 10 papers, that is more than sufficient. You should be able to clear any paper with that practice. Uh, so I think yeah, that is just enough. You can also use revision notes, which are very, I think, which are very structured, and they combine chapters, so that help as well. So if you are not using revision note, and then this is something that I'd like to suggest, that use revision notes, purchase those. Do not go for a shortcut. Purchase those, because most of the time, if you are working, this would be reimbursed by the company. And there is other material, like for higher papers, sometimes asset, which is much more detailed than revision note, that can also help you. So these are already available at some price, and you should be purchasing those, use those. Focus on past papers, that should be enough to clear paper. If you are not able to clear paper even after that, it's a problem. And you should reconsider your decision of working in Actuary. Moving on. Now, lack of knowledge. So why this happens? That is mainly because I feel of cramming of patterns, which is how uh, the other coaching centers are designed. So they are focused on papers, because, as I keep on saying, the greatest achievement of a person in other coaching center is that they have cleared papers. Earlier, even 2 years earlier, there were people who have not cleared papers, have not who are not fellows. In fact, most of the coaching center people have qualified after 2019 or 2020. So that is the biggest achievement of their life, right? And that will always stay the biggest achievement of their life. So they will always tell clearing papers is very, very important. And because they are teaching for some duration, they are well aware of what patterns are prevalent in the exam, and they will help you to memorize those patterns. But you will memorize that patterns thinking that this is how you prepared for your class 10 or class 12. But this is a professional exam. So your actual knowledge that would be needed would be when you would be given a difficult situation in real life, and you have to overcome that on your own. So if you have this habit of cramming patterns, then you will try to, then you will see a new problem which will not fit into any pattern, and you will struggle there. So even if you get a job, you will have a probationary period, and within that probationary period, you will struggle. It will get extended. You might get laid off in that time. So and obviously, if you do not have knowledge, you will not be able to answer slightly twisted or slightly in-depth question in an interview. You might be able to answer what is reserve, but you may not be able to answer when reserve increases, or when whether reserve decreases if mortality increases. Such questions you will not be able to answer, right? So if you are clear on the concept, then interview become a lot easier. If you do not have knowledge, if you just pattern, if you are just a pattern crammer, right? If you just go by patterns and pass exam, then this would be tough for you. So that just needs change in mindset. You have to uh, understand something, and then you can cram patterns. But understanding something is very important because it's a professional exam. It is not passing and getting marks, which other people think. But you should not think like that. You should understand the concept and get clarity in that concept. Now that will help you in interviews. And so how you can do that, always think in terms of cash flows, like what will happen to that cash flow. Like Sayan, you are aware because we are doing this IFRS 17, so I try to explain everything in terms of cash flows, like how these cash flows be would be dealt with, like the very definition of contract boundary is kind of dependent on the cash flows, right? So if you can think everything in terms of cash flows, it will be very mathematical for you. You can identify everything, and you will be able to understand why something is happening, why something is not happening, right? So that would be clearing your concept. Second, third thing that I'll say is relate concept. So sometime a participating product concept might be needed in ULIP, and some concept in ULIP might be needed in participating product. So try to relate concepts that will further clarify. And okay, are you asking something, Sam? Before I got dropped.
Yeah, I was asking, like, for as a recruiter, what would your ideal CV look like,
Yeah, we are. I am going to come to that in a bit.
or what would your ideal candidate?
Yes, I am going to come to that in a bit. It's part of this.
Yes, like, what is that candidate whom you cannot say no to? Like,
Yes, yes. I mean, yes. What I'm trying to say is there is a slide on that, right? So I'll come to that in time.
okay,
Okay.
all right.
So yeah. So I think it's very important to relate concepts and cash flows. We have this course called Sparkle One, which we would like to promote here, and that is specially designed for life insurance. If you are from general insurance, that may not help you, but if you are struggling with conceptual clarity in life insurance, and if you're not able to clear interviews because you feel that your conceptual clarity is not good enough, then I think Sparkle One is very cheaply priced, so that you can test this. And obviously there is all of all our courses have demo videos, so you can check that, and if you feel like, you can purchase that. So this is where we try to think in terms of cash flows, and we have related concepts, which is what you need to do. And if you have that pattern of thinking, then not only you'll clear interviews, but you'll also do very, very well in your job as well. So moving on, then the next point is about lack of approach. So approach is how to approach for a job, right? So first is you can very, like, this is these days it is very normal to send cold emails or messages to seniors. So how you can send cold email? So usually people have, and this is something that I understood when I was looking into looking for jobs. So usually people have two names, right? First name and surname. Like for example, my name is Arpan Sengupta. So it would be arpan.sengupta@moodys.com. Usually that would be the format that would be followed. And you can also see their customer care, because every company usually has a customer care sort of email ID. So that would give you the domain name. Like some company, for example, just to give you an example, like Sun Life might have a domain name of S Life, not Sun Life, right? @slife.com. Now, how do you identify whether it will be Sun Life or S Life? So you will usually see in the customer care there will be an email ID with the domain, and then next you can just figure out the name. Now, like for example, Parul would be Parul dot Agarwal, right? Because her name is Parul Agarwal. So usually that is how you can send emails, but ensure that you are sending emails to people who are at senior levels, those who have the hiring power, right? If you are sending your CV to analysts, senior analysts, then they can only refer you, but they do not. Sometimes they may not be aware of opportunity which senior people will be aware of. And also, if you are sending cold emails or messages, sometimes it might irritate others as well, right? So you might get a very nasty reply from them. So be prepared for that as well, because I have done that. I've got nasty replies, and sometimes it felt bad as well. But it is not their fault. They have not asked for your CV. You are sending them cold emails so that you there is an opportunity that you can take leverage. You can leverage some opportunity which others are not privy to till that point. So it is very. I think you should do that, and there is no harm in asking for a job. If there is an opportunity, you will get considered there. And these days, like I get hundreds of messages in LinkedIn, right, for job or anything. So I think it is very normal these days. In our time, I think it was much less common. Today it is very, very common. And as I mentioned, you can obviously figure out the email ID. Sometimes if a person is South Indian, then it is slightly difficult. S. Vaidyanathan, you cannot, you don't know what that S stand for, or whether it is Vaidyanathan. So sometimes that would be difficult to find out. Then probably messaging on LinkedIn would be much better. If that person has a profile, sometimes the LinkedIn profiles are not updated, and it is very difficult to identify if this person works in the company, right? So those difficulties, those challenges would always be there. But having said that, you can still figure out, you can still find out other people to whom you can send your emails. And sometimes some opportunities are not published, and if you are upfront about that, you might get your job which others are not privy to. Second thing that I'd like to say or mention, that sometimes people lie in CV. A common example would be, I have worked in IFRS 17, because right now it is quite hot. So IFRS 17, people like to say that they have worked in IFRS 17, which they have not done. So the moment you are writing something in CV, you have to justify it. If you are not able to justify it, then that will harm your cause rather than helping you. So do not lie in your CV. And if you're lying in your CV, be prepared to back it. I mean, I'll not say do not write something that you have not, like sometimes people have not worked on something and they have some idea, so they are writing that. So be prepared with that. Be prepared to be asked questions on that, and be prepared to answer that. Right. So you should not appear, or you should not be getting caught in that process. So you can lie provided you are not getting caught, right? So be careful with that. Once again, it's a double-edged sword, right? Next thing is not following criteria. Now sometime, like when I was in Sun Life, I was asking for CVs, and people, I clearly mentioned that people who are over 2 years should should send the CV. And I've seen people with 14 months of experience, or sometime 18 months of experience, sometime with 22 months of experience will send CVs. And their reasoning is like, if you consider the notice period, like someone with 22 months, right? So if you consider the notice period of 2 months, it will already be 2 years. So that is why I have sent the CV. So it is always important to mention that. Like if you are very close to the criteria that is mentioned, just mention that, so that the other person is, you are just saving the time of that person. Once again, we are using it to filter. And if you are not mentioning that, sometime the other person might get irritated with that, and that will not help you, right? So mention that you are very close to the criteria, and that is why you are sending the CV, rather than just sending the CV assuming that, or thinking that you are very close to the criteria, so you will be getting selected. That might go against you as well, right? So try to follow the criteria. If you are not following the criteria, then just mention that in your email, that I do not follow this criteria, but I'm very close. Like you have asked for maybe CS1 to be cleared or CM1 to be cleared. I've appeared for it, and I think I'll pass, but I've not yet cleared it. So mention that clearly, so that that is that person will understand that, and also appreciate that you have saved some time for that person, right? So be clear in or be open in your communication. And the fourth point is over application. So over application means you have applied for a job or applied in a company just 1 month back, next month, and you got rejected. Like you applied for the interview, got rejected. Next month you see another vacancy, you again applied in that company. So chances are your CV will not be considered. You might also get blacklisted because you are happy, because in 1 month there would be not much change. So you give yourself at least 6 months to apply for any position. And if you are doing so, like if you are applying for a position maybe after 2 months, it is better to tell that to the HR, or once again to mention that in the email, so that you are upfront and you are honest about it, and someone do not find through other means that you are over applying, right? So be very clear in your communication about when you are approaching someone, right? Because you are approaching someone who has that power, recruitment power, and you do not like to, for your own good, you would not like to made them angry or irritated, uh, and that once again will not help you, which I have seen many people do that, and they do this because of their desperation. And as I mentioned, whenever you are desperate, you will be taken advantage of, and you will do things which you are not supposed to do. So desperation will make you not calm, right? And then you will take wrong decisions. So that is why do not be desperate. There will be ample opportunities. Wait for your turn. Stay calm, and you will get you will get what you want, if you are talented enough and if you are intelligent enough. And I think, yeah, so just to move into the next point, because I think these points are very, very common. But I just wanted to highlight this because people are, not, people make mistake here, right? And that is where their CV get rejected. So lack of communication, sometimes you do not know an answer. And instead of saying, I don't know, you give vague replies, just because you feel once again that exam mindset or class 10, 11 mindset, where you feel that I'll write something, I'll get 1 mark. If I do not write anything, I'll get 0 mark. So that same approach is followed here. But that approach will not work in professional life. If you do not know something, just say that you do not know. That will be well appreciated, because you are saving time from another person, and that person will not ask you question on that line once again. That would not be your strong point, right? That area is that domain is not your strong point. And you will, by saying I don't, you don't know something, right? So you are not, what can I say, you're not degrading yourself, but rather you are saying that I'm not comfortable in this area. It is not right for you to test me in this area. So you are actually helping the interviewer to test you in the right area. Having said that, obviously, you cannot say I don't know every time, right? So this only works if you say I don't know in one area. But if you do not know anything, then obviously you are not going to get selected. But I'm not hoping that it would be your problem, right? So it is very important, and it is also well appreciated if you say I don't know for an answer, or you are saying that I don't know completely, I'm just, maybe I'm trying, rather than giving vague replies. You are not going to get a grace 1 mark in an interview. Either you'll be selected or you'll be rejected, right? There is no midway here. So do not give vague replies. Second thing is contradicting yourself. Now most of the time, whenever you are, this happens when there is too much influence of someone else, or maybe a coaching center person. Someone has told you this is the way you have to, follow, and you are following that person. So in that process, you are not yourself. You are someone else. And then when you are, you are cornered, your back is against the wall, then you start contradicting yourself, and the interviewer can clearly see that, right? So uh, that is why it is very important in an interview that you be yourself. You are not representing someone else. You are yourself, right? So that is why you should stay firm on your belief, and you should communicate that. Even if that is wrong, that is fine, you will learn in the process. But rather than copying someone else, you should uh, be yourself, should not contradict yourself, right? And over application, I think once again I have put this point here because that is a communication point as well, which I have already covered there. That if you are over applying, explain that, mention that in your application. Say that to an HR that I have applied for this role just 2 months back. I am reapplying. Is it okay? So then the HR would already know, and then they will mark as such, right? And if you are getting interviewed after that as well, then the other person is responsible, not you, right? So then they cannot question you why you are applying for interview just because just before 2 months you got rejected, right? So be clear in your communication. So I'll just stop there to see if you have any question.
No, no, I understood all the points.
Cool. Now, who I want to add, this is the ideal, this is the ideal candidate point which you are asking. And I'm just seeing that we are getting slightly over time, but yeah, I think we'll take maybe 5, 6 minutes more to complete this. So, who I want to hire, obviously, someone who can be trained, especially at fresher level. We know there is a big gap between the material and the real work. So you need training, right? So someone who can be trained can be hired. And that is, I think that is quite universal. Nobody expects you to know everything unless you are working in Canada HSBC. So most of the company will expect that you would know something, but you need to be trained. And there should be a training time, right? So that is very important. Second thing is no attitude issues. Like, just to give an example, I remember once I interviewed someone and I asked him like, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years from now? And the person responded, I want to become an actual god, right? So this is a very what can I say, arrogant statement, right? I want to become actual god is, you know if even if you want to become, even if you want to be called a god, I think this is something, there is a time and place to say something like that. If you say that in an interview, you are not going to get selected. So uh, be prepared not to show arrogance in an interview. And this is where you also need to think what the herd thinks, what the herd would consider as attitude. Like my reason was very honest that there are cultural issues, but then for most of the people, they would think that would be an attitude problem. So this is where you also need to think what should be what are classified as attitude issues, and you should not be coming across as someone who have that issues in an interview. And third thing is basic knowledge. So we obviously know that you have to be trained, but you should be able to converse in the language that your manager wants you to converse. If you do not know what is reserve, what is sum at risk, what is cost of insurance, what is cost of guarantee, etc., etc., then you are not going to get hired in a life insurance role, right? So you need basic knowledge. You need to know the definition of this. You need not know the depth of this. If you know the depth of it, then obviously then that is great, right? And the fourth point is self-aware. You know your strength and weakness, right? So this is also a question that people ask in an interview, like what are your strengths? Can you give three strengths? Can you give one weakness? Can you give an example where you have failed and how you have overcome those situation? What was the, what is the method that was applied? So you need to be self-aware, where you stand, where you need to be, and where you need to work upon, which areas you are very good, right? So that you need to be like, yeah, I mean, I think that is, I think, self-awareness, right? In life also, it is very important that you are self-aware, and interviews, it is very, very important. So if I have to take one point out of all this, so I think that should be can be trained. That is the first point. If you can be trained, then I think you are ready to be hired, right? Because then everyone would be willing to work with you so that you have that attitude that you are willing to learn, right? So then you would be hired rather than kind of showing up that you know everything, and there is nothing that you have left to learn, right? So I think that should not be coming off you, and you should be always be willing to be trained. Parul, if you want to add anything here.
This highly covers everything.
Hmm.
Uh, And main is, I would say, the attitude issues, because that is one of the major factor that the interviewers see. So you should be somebody who should come across as someone who doesn't have any attitude and are willing to learn. So this is one of the major factor for a fresher.
Thank you, Paul. Shan, you have a question? Anything you want to ask?
I just wanted to add on this point.
Mhm.
Do you think software knowledge, as in, I know for a fact that life insurance softwares cannot be learned unless I get into a life insurance company.
Hmm.
However, uh, for example, if I have sound knowledge
Hmm.
of Excel, VBA, SQL,
Hmm.
maybe Python also,
Mhm.
will that help my case? As in, will a recruiter find me more attractive?
Yes, of course. That will be, that is once again, that is also a slide here, like what you need to know. But of course, that is important because that is the difference between theory and practical work. Theory is what you know, and then practical work you have to show what you know in an software. So that would be Excel, VBA, SQL, etc. So that is how you have to, that is very important, right? And these days
Do you think?
everyone have that knowledge: Excel, VBA, SQL. These days everyone is kind of a common, may not be that much prevalent in VBA and SQL, but Excel knowledge is like quite prevalent. And the problem is, people say, when I think Parul will also remember this, like, I once we were interviewing someone, I asked him how much you are going to rate yourself out of 10 in Excel, and that person gave himself 8 or 9, I don't remember. Then I gave him a simple task, like I think I gave the task of separating my name, like my name is Arpan Sengupta, can you use formulas to separate it? And the person was not able to do that. So if you are giving yourself 8, now even I cannot give myself 8 out of 10 in Excel because Excel is so vast. And I am a Microsoft certified Excel expert, right? So Microsoft creates Excel. I have been certified expert in that. And then even I cannot say that I know everything of Excel. Excel is such a vast software. So be prepared whenever you are saying that you are 8 out of 10 in Excel, then you are rating yourself very, very highly. So then you should be able to do such problems like splitting a name between first name and middle name or surname or whatever it is. It should be piece of cake for you. But if you are not able to back it up, then that's a problem, right? So you will be asked questions on software as well. It would not be a major part of your interview unless you are working for an analytics role. That will also be a important point, how you can differentiate between an actual job and a non-actual job, because a non-actual job would ask you more question on the software. An actual job would ask you more question on the theory and then some questions on the software, because software once again is not that important for them. But if you know Excel, VBA to a great degree, right? So then that is important. That is important, especially in today's world. It is very, very important. Okay,
Yeah,
moving on.
thank you.
Yeah, couple of more slides and then we can stop. So this is a particular side where I get this question, like people who are experienced, like they have started like me, they have started as a non-actual person, but then they want to switch into actual, and the problem they have is basically their age. They might be 29, 30, 31 in that age, and they have started actually after that, and they already draw a salary, and the salary might be much higher than what freshers get. Then the question is, how can we switch into actuarial? Right? So I wanted to cover this as well, and this is something that I have done. So I think age, salary does matter in this case. It is not that it's not important. You might be reporting to a person who would be probably at a lower age than you, might be 27, 28, when you would be at 30, right? So some person may not be comfortable with that. Second thing is, if you are already drawing, say your salary is already 10 lakhs and the fresher level salary is say somewhere between I think 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs these days. So then it is very difficult for you to get a job, right? So I think the best way to get a job is if you are not working with an insurance company, because traditionally actuaries work with insurers. So I'm not talking, like in this presentation, I'm not going to talk about non-traditional things. right? So I'm only going to talk about traditional roles, and there you must switch to an insurer if you are not working with an insurer, and then try for a parallel switch. Suppose you are working with an insurer, like for me, when I was in SBI Life, I tried to move into the actual department of SBI Life. It could not happen. Like there are a lot of politics there are a lot of networks that is needed to move into the actual department. So once I felt this cannot be done, like I mentioned, I gave myself a time. At that point of time, I gave myself 2 years time. Like if I cannot move into actual department of SBI Life in 2 years, I have to switch. I have to give up. Like never give up will not work here. I have to give up, and then I have to move into a different company. And that is exactly what I've done. Right. So you have to move to a different company because you have a salary, and if that salary is pretty high as compared to a fresher, then you need to move into your current role. Like suppose you are working, like I was working project management, suppose currently you are in project management, you are in operations, whatever role you are then. So first you should try to move into the actual department of your current company. If that cannot happen for whatever reason, then you need to switch your company, move into the same role that you are working in. Say you are working in project management, you need to move into the project management role of a different insurer, and then try into for a parallel switch, right, there, because otherwise it will be very difficult. And the third option is, which I have not mentioned here, that you have to take a big salary cut, right? But once again, then also people who are interviewing you, they might not be comfortable because you might leave whenever you get a good job, right? So that is why I've not mentioned that here, because that is not a viable option. You might be okay with the salary cut, but the person who is cutting your salary may not be okay, right? So that is where it is always better to look for a parallel switch and kind of work there. And this is a big topic. I intend to do a webinar on this topic as well. So I don't want to go too much deep into this because we're already over time, and this is not something that everyone would need in at a fresher level. But yeah, I think this is probably the best method. There are other methods as well, which is not part of today's discussion. Moving on. So this is the ideal criteria for a fresher. If you are aged between 21 to 23, just after graduation, if you have cleared this paper, CM1, CS1, CM2, and I've kept CP2 because Excel is very important in all actual work. So if you have cleared this uh, 4 papers, it is very easy to convince an interviewer that you know Excel, you already know the basics of life insurance and general insurance that is covered by CM1, CS1, CM2, and sometimes CS2 is also slightly important, but CS2 is also a bit tougher paper. So I think even this 4 paper would be sufficient. So if you have cleared these 4 papers, if you know Excel, VBA, SQL, and Python, right, and in that order, Excel is more important than VBA, is second most important, then SQL, and then Python. If you also know a bit of data science and artificial intelligence, even for experienced people like us who do not know data science, artificial intelligence today, would be forced to know data science or artificial intelligence in maybe next 2 3 years. And if they are not knowing this, then they would be thrown out, and they will be replaced by people who know this. So this is very important for us as well, experienced person as well, because that is where the industry is moving. We have to understand artificial intelligence, otherwise artificial intelligence is going to replace us. So this is an ideal criteria, right? Ideal criteria for you, and you should work in that domain. Some of this may not be, like maybe some, for someone the age might not be in their favor. For someone, that person may not have done CP2, right? So I mean, that person can do this, that, and it is purely opinion based. Paru's opinion might be different, right? So I feel this should be sufficient for you to get a job. And yeah, that can help a lot. And I think then being different, so this is ideal criteria and how you can be different. So if you know IFRS 17 or gap LDTI to a great degree, once again, Blue Dragon Universe provide a course for that, actual softwares. So you have a course for that as well. uh, if you know this, then you are already ahead of your peers. This is what they are going to learn in their training, and you already have some idea about that. So you are already ahead of your peers. Need to mention that in your CV if you are comfortable, right? And expect questions, and you should be able to answer those questions. right? So whenever you are writing something like this, if you cannot back it up, then it's a problem. But if you can back that up, no, I mean that will give you excellent advantage over others. Then deep neural network, this is related to the artificial intelligence. This is the current area of artificial intelligence where the inventions are happening. And as I mentioned, experienced people like us also need to understand this, otherwise we'll be replaced. It will be thrown out. Traditional work will not work any longer. Like maybe for next 2 3 years we have some immunity. After that, it will not. So this is something that will make you different. And the last point is asset side, like liabilities are where we thrive. Actuaries are the owner of liabilities. But if you know the asset side, like for me, I trade. So I trade in derivatives, asset bonds, all of this. So I have strong knowledge on that side. But as compared to that, someone else might not have. For example, Parul have almost equal amount of experience as I have, but Parul do not trade here. So her knowledge on asset side will be much limited, right? So that gives me an edge over people who are at same level as me, but they do not know this because this is not related to work. This is something extra, right? But this help you to understand how everything falls into place. So this asset side knowledge, practical knowledge, is quite important. I think the easiest way to know about this, if you start trading, but not everyone can trade. That you need capital and everything else, right? But yeah, I mean this will make you different from others. This will give you that entire picture, the whole circle, right? So that is where you can be different. And yeah, I think that's the end of the presentation. We are over by, I think, 15 minutes. But yeah, we like to take any questions for the next 2 3 minutes, and then if there is no question, we can wrap it up. And we'll have this presentation in the same link that you have registered in, right? So you can go to the course and you can then see this after tomorrow. Any
Yeah,
questions? Yeah.
I think, yeah, I understood most of it, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And yeah, I mean, I just think that I need to brush up my concepts a little more,
Mm.
like analyzing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think your videos will help me a lot, at least the YouTube free videos,
Yes. Yeah.
the 50 videos that you have, I think.
Yeah.
I plan to go through it in the next 1 or 2 months and go through the entire bunch.
Mm.
Uh, Learning VBA will help me,
True.
I
Yeah.
think.
We have a course coming on VBA as well. I was just not able
I
to.
know, I know.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll have that
And
as well. Yeah.
do you plan to do actual inner engineering anytime in the future,
Yeah,
Sapani?
I mean, not in Jan, but yeah, maybe in Feb. In fact, I am trying to make it a recorded course because I think it's everything is getting bit too much for me. So
Yes, I think.
what I wanted to do is I wanted to model like for example universal life, regular life, and products like that. So I want to create videos and yeah, and keep it there so that it is not dependent on me. So that is something that I have a plan for. And yeah, I think in February,
All right.
March. Yeah, but not
Those are the
immediately.
things I have to work, I think, on myself.
Yeah, but
And
just to mention that for getting an entry level job, that is a good to have thing. That is not necessary. Like actual software knowledge is not necessary, right? Like you are doing IFRS 17, that is a good to have thing. You are putting yourself ahead of your peers. That is great, but when that is not necessary, you can still get your job without that as well. But yeah, I mean that will place you in a different bracket if you can do all of that.
Instead of that, I would suggest, along with a few YouTube videos, you can go through the course of Sparkle One if you think that's something that you can that interests you, because that has some basic concepts which will help you in the interview.
all right. All right.
Parul, you want to share anything that I've missed or anything you want to
Uh,
correct me?
no, no, I think we have almost covered everything.
Okay, okay, Shan. So thanks for joining, and I hope that those who would be seeing this video who have not joined this, those three people. So I just hope that they would be joining, and will drop a mail to everyone if there will be another chance where the same presentation would be given, and I maybe Parul can give that, but we will have to decide on that. But yeah, uh, because it was our fault that we are not able to do that on last Thursday. My father had medical emergency, unfortunately. So because of that, we are not able to, kind of complete that. Because of that, yeah. So I think if there is no further question, we are going to stop today.
All
Uh,
right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Shayan,
both
and
of
see
you,
you.
for
Yeah,
your time.
see you on Saturday, Shayan.
All right. All right.
Yeah, bye
All
bye.
right. Thank you, both of you.
Yeah.
You.